Gospel of our Lord according to Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 to 12.
Glory to you, O Lord.
When Jesus saw his ministry drawing huge crowds, he climbed a hillside. Those who were apprenticed to him, the committed ones, climbed with him, arriving at a quiet place. He sat down and he taught his climbing companions. This is what he said. "You are blessed when you are at the end of your rope. With less of you, there is more of God and his rule. You are blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. You are blessed when you're content with just who you are, no more, no less. That's the moment you find yourself proud owners of everything that can't be bought. You're blessed when you've worked up a good appetite for God. His food and drink is the best meal you'll ever eat. You're blessed when you care. At the moment of being careful, you find yourselves cared for. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and your heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. You're blessed when you show people how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's when you discover who you really are and your place in God's family. You're blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution. The persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. Not only that, count you yourselves blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. What it means is that the truth is too close for comfort and they are uncomfortable. You can be glad when that happens. Give a cheer even. For though they don't like it, I do. And all heaven applauds. And know that you are in good company. My prophets and witnesses have always gotten into this kind of trouble. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. In today's Gospel reading, we discover Jesus taking a little bit of a time out. He's noticing that crowds are following him, and so he retreats up a big hillside or a small mountain. And that does not seem to deter quite a number of people, because those who are really in or committed to following Jesus continue to follow him. And so he sits them down and he begins to teach anybody who would like to follow him. He begins to teach them, what's it going to look like? What does it mean to follow Jesus? In Matthew's Gospel, starting in chapter 5, all the way up to the next 4 chapters, we're going to see, we can read about that set of teaching, that sermon, that seminar that Jesus gives to that crowd of people that followed him. We often call it the Sermon on the Mount. But there's a lot in that. However, today we read just the very beginning. And it's that part where we learn about blessings and the Beatitudes. Blessed are, blessed are. And I always think it's very interesting to see how Jesus begins this teaching about, well, what does it mean to follow him? He begins with helping his disciples recognize who is blessed. It seems like an important first step that Jesus wants them first to figure out who is blessed, because that's crucial to them figuring out how is it that they're actually going to follow Jesus. And so as we read these 12 verses, I read from the Message translation, so it's a little bit different than our traditional ways that we read it. And I did that so that we could kind of step out of the box and hear someone else describe these blessings, so we can start thinking in a different way, because we've tended to think of blessings in the wrong way. I've mentioned this before, but it's so important to remind ourselves. Too often we think blessings are people who are lucky or successful. For example, if I go and I win a lottery ticket, right? I buy one of those scratch-off tickets and I win the lottery and I think, wow, I'm rich, I'm blessed, right? Well, no, actually, I'm really lucky. I have no clue whether or not God intended for me or God cares about whether or not I won that lottery. I'm lucky. But we always think of anybody who gets a great big gift as someone who's blessed. We also think of anybody who's eminently successful by worldly standards as someone who's blessed. But actually, that means they're successful. We don't know for sure whether or not it's because of God that they're successful or because they're just really talented people. Certainly, Justin Bieber is not successful because God intended it that way, right? You know what I mean? Sorry, all the Bieber fans out there. Because I know this crowd is just loaded with them, right? So we have to, and this is what Jesus is getting at with the disciples. The world understands blessings. It's all wrong. You don't recognize it. If you can't recognize who's blessed, then you're going to have a really hard time following me. So what I want us to do is just look at really quick, what are some of the lessons we learn about who is blessed? And always I'm going to use the past tense, because this is not about who will be blessed or who will receive a blessing. It's about who has already been blessed. And the first thing we notice from this list of people is that it's not the people whom we expect. It's not the people whom we think of as powerful, the people who have got it all together, the people who are successful or lucky. It's those who are mourning, those who are meek, those who are merciful, those who are persecuted. And what it tells us is that the people who are blessed, where God shows up and gives blessings to people in the most unexpected of times and the most unexpected of blessings, when we really don't think that's what God is doing. And so we have to change our way of thinking. God has blessed us in unexpected, in ways that we are unprepared for, in ways we just don't even think about as a blessing. And the second one is the blessings, or one moment here, I lost it. The purpose, okay, how God blesses us. The purpose of how God blesses us, how God brings these things into our lives. It's not always so that we could have a party, which is what we tend to think. God's blessings come into our lives. They've already, Jesus says, they've already been blessed. And I've mentioned this many times. We have been blessed so much in so many ways that we don't realize. And part of the reason why it's hard for us to see that where God's blessings are, where God has blessed people, is because we tend to want to hoard blessings. We tend to want to think, okay, God has given me this blessing. It's a reward for my good behavior, and I ought to enjoy it. And that's not how blessings work. We are blessed so that we can bless other people. And oftentimes we look at all of the things that we have, and we have to realize God's blessing is working so that we can turn around and be a blessing for other people. And the way it works is kind of like this. You look at the areas you least expect to find God's blessing. And that's where you're probably going to discover it. It's in those broken areas of your life, in the messy parts, the parts that we keep secret, the parts that we don't want other people to see, that we're really, really ashamed of. It's usually in those places that we find God's blessings resting. And as long as we keep those places hidden, we're never really going to see how powerful God's blessings are. Because God's blessing is always going to be for this purpose, to bring healing and wholeness into our lives. That's what God wants. Not so that we can retire early, not so that I can take a trip to Disney World. God's blessing is coming into my life so that I can find wholeness and healing. And so if we want to begin to see how is it that we're blessed, we need to look in those areas that are most messy, most uncomfortable, the areas that are most broken. Because it is in those areas, once we look and examine those areas, and we allow God to use those areas to bless other people, what happens is the blessing goes out, and it comes right back in, and we find healing. But as long as we hoard, as long as we close our lives off, as long as we live in shame, then oftentimes God's blessing is, like I've used this phrase before too, a present that's never opened. And the last thing about this, and this is important, is that when God began, Jesus in this kind of seminar that he's given to those who would follow him, he's telling them this is how you recognize who has been blessed. He begins describing all these people that we wouldn't really categorize or expect to be blessed, but he ends it by telling the disciples and those who are following him, and it's you, as you are persecuted, as you make other people uncomfortable because the truth of your life hits too close to home. As you, he very much personalizes it to help the disciples understand. He's not talking figuratively about people. He's talking about them specifically. It is you who have been blessed. You are the blessed. You are the ones. And if you're going to follow me, what it means is you're going to have to understand you're already blessed. And the purpose of that blessing is to make your life whole. And it happens as you allow me to flow through you to change other people's lives. Amen? Amen. I have like 4 big, huge stories I want to tell you. We're totally out of time. So let me just give you one of them, just one of them. I'll save the rest of that next week. How do you then, because I want to come back to this whole idea, is how do we begin? Because the whole idea is for us to begin to see and recognize how we're blessed, right? The way you do that is you look at everything that's around you and you figure out everything about me, all the stuff that I have, all the experiences, the relationships, how does that stuff help me to love well? And I was reading this story about an author who asked children, what does love look like? And one little girl got up and she shared this story with him. She said, love looks like this. My grandmother is very sick. She has very bad arthritis. And it's hard for her to bend over. It's hard for her to stand up. It's hard for her to move. And love looks like this. It's my grandpa who gets up and he paints my grandma's toes. Because she's too arthritic to do it herself. That's what love looks like. And I thought, yeah, that guy is a blessing. He has been blessed, but he himself, his life, is blessing his wife. That's what love looks like. That's what a blessing looks like. And this is how we begin to see a blessing. We start to examine our broken areas, and then we look at all the stuff that we have. And how is God enabling us to love well? That's what's important. Because as we do that, we realize we are the blessed, and we are the ones who God is able to love well. Amen? Amen. Our takeaways for today. These are the 4 things that we saw in that list of how to discover God's blessing. It's not about luck or being successful. We've got to get rid of that way of thinking. We look in our least expected place. That's where we find how God has blessed us. It's the purpose of blessings to making things whole. And the last one is, we are God's blessing. And we realize that and experience that as we understand that God has blessed us to be a blessing to others. Let's stand for our song. Oh, wait, one more slide there. That was the last part. What has been brought into my life that enables me to love well? Just remember that thought throughout this week. Everything about you have been blessed. You might not feel blessed, but God has brought so much in your life that enables you to love well. That's how you begin to discover. It's one pathway to discovering these blessings that you've already been given. Let's stand for our song today.